Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the September 28th meeting of the Methacton Board of School Directors. Please rise for the pledge. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The public is hereby advised of the audio and video recording of this meeting for the purposes of rebroadcasting. In attendance, we have everybody in attendance except for Ms. Kim Aubrey-Larsenis. Now for recognition of guests and scheduled speakers, Dr. Zerbe.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. This evening, we have three scheduled speakers. Our first one and one of three very important ones, we have Nikki Kralovich, our Executive Director of the Methacton Education Foundation, here with a number of board members to present a presentation as well as a check presentation. Ms. Kralovich?
Thank you. All right. As Dr. Zerbe said, I'm Nikki Kralovich, and I think many of the people in the room probably already know that. I'm the Executive Director for the Methacton Education Foundation. When I started with the foundation 3.5 years ago, I never imagined the incredible programs we would be able to support. I am proud of the exponential growth and the impact that we have made to support innovative programs for Methacton students. 4 years ago, the foundation awarded just $16,000 in grants. This past school year, we awarded $441,120 in grants. Our check presentation tonight represents the programs that we funded over the past school year. These programs will impact students across Methacton for years to come. Our 2020-2021 grant awards include the new hydroponic farm lab, which was just delivered a couple of hours ago to Methacton High School by crane, our new forensics lab at the high school, mental health support like the REACH program throughout the district, the philanthropy club at our Arcola Middle School, STEM kits in elementary schools, the Methacton backpack program feeding students in need. They're the STEM kits, elementary school STEM kits and manipulatives for our youngest learners, STEM ecosystems in our elementary schools. There's the philanthropy club at our Arcola, and pre-K need-based scholarships for the most vulnerable students. For those who do not know, the Methacton Education Foundation raises private dollars to provide innovative opportunities for all students in Methacton. We are an independent 501c3 and are not affiliated with any political organizations. We are able to do all this great work because we have innovative educators in Methacton who come up with these great programs, and then we have generous donors who help us to fund them. As I look around the room tonight, I do see many of our teachers and administrators who have not only come up with great ideas for the programs, but who have donated to the foundation, our school board here who donate, parents who are here who donate to the foundation. And I want to thank you all. It truly takes a village, and on behalf of the foundation and all of the students in Methacton who benefit from your donations, I would like to say thank you. So thank you. At this point, if the board directors from the Methacton Education Foundation can join us up front for a photo, that would be great.
Next on the agenda, we have an equally important presentation, and certainly things don't get done in this district without high-quality caliber individuals. And tonight, Dr. Jason Sorgini, our Director of HR, is going to share with you just a few of the individuals that have achieved outstanding recognition for all of their efforts in making the Methacton School District an important, safe, and enriching environment that it is. So, Dr. Sorgini, let's see the presentation. Let's recognize some really good people.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Zerbe. It's my honor tonight to present the Methacton School District Award of Excellence to the following staff members. First, we have Karen Mossop, our Transportation Supervisor. Karen Mossop is the Transportation Supervisor for Methacton School District. She has been the person behind the operations that may go unnoticed by many, but the staff of both Methacton School District and First Student rely on her daily. She brings a level of knowledge and experience to the school district that we draw upon regularly. She is always concerned about the students' experience and their safety. Her dedication to getting everything right helps us operate over 90 routes to over 40 different schools. She is well deserving of this recognition, and I can tell you that Karen was actually one of the last people over the bridge on the night of the storm on Germantown Pike. So she was here to the very end, making sure that our students are safe. So please join me in congratulating Karen. Next, we have Jang Yoon. Jang was hired as a casual on-call custodian in February of 2016, and due to his hard work and commitment, he was hired full-time in May of 2016. Jang is a Vietnam War veteran and is the district's most senior employee. Jang has worked at various buildings throughout the district during his employment and has proved himself to be an extremely reliable and dedicated employee. He has not taken any sick days in 5 years. Jang is a true team player and is always willing to go above and beyond to assist his fellow co-workers. He is a valued member of the Methacton family. Please join me in congratulating Jang Yoon. Michelle Davis, our Pupil Services Secretary. Michelle Davis is a valued and integral part of the Pupil Services Department team and an exemplary employee of the district. She is responsible for many tasks, and her knowledge, experience, and expertise allow her to perform these tasks with great accuracy. Michelle is a dedicated employee who takes her position and responsibilities very seriously. She takes on new assignments, initiates tasks, offers support to staff, students, and families, and shifts priorities to meet the needs of the department and the organization. We are very fortunate to have Michelle as a member of our Farina team, and I'm very grateful to work with her every day. Congratulations, Michelle. Dave DeHaven, our tech specialist. Dave DeHaven has been a member of the Methacton Technology Department for 3 years. On a daily basis, Dave brings with him professionalism, patience, and a problem-solving attitude. When asking district staff about Dave, the responses are consistent. They say things like, Dave is a great person and is very proactive. We are so happy when Dave comes to help. Dave is a great representative of the Methacton School District. The technology department and the school district are thrilled to have Dave as a key piece of the team. Congratulations, Dave. Ashley Tornetta. Ashley has been with the district since being hired as a casual on-call in September of 2019. She was recently hired as a full-time custodian in May 2021. In her short time with the district, Ashley has proved herself to be very reliable and is a very hard worker. She was asked to step up and help out at Eagleville Elementary School this summer, and while filling in there during the construction process, she became a big part of helping to ensure that the school was ready for the opening of the school year. We're grateful to have Ashley as part of our Methacton family. And finally, Chris DiLiberto. Chris was hired as a casual on-call in May 2003 and was hired as a full-time Arcola custodian in January of 2013. Chris is also a very proud Methacton graduate who had awesome Methacton teachers. With over 10 years of experience with the school district, he is very reliable and dependable. Chris will always go above and beyond to help everyone out. Chris has been filling in for the Arcola and Skyview head custodian this summer, and we have received many emails praising his efforts in getting the buildings ready for the new school year. Chris needs little direction when given a task, and the job is always well done. We thank Chris for a lifetime of dedicated service to Methacton. Please join me in a round of applause congratulating all of our September Award of Excellence recipients. Thank you very much.
Next on the agenda, we have Dr. Jamie Gravenese, high school principal, to present M Awards. Dr. Gravenese?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me tonight. I have the wonderful pleasure of sharing with you that 471 of our high school students earned M Awards for academic excellence for the 2020-21 school year. To get an M Award, students have to achieve a 93% or greater grade point average. As their names scroll on the screen, we will be recognizing these students at the board meeting tonight, and then also having this presentation posted online so that we can celebrate their accomplishments. There we go. Was that you? Thank you. Congratulations, students and parents and guardians, for this great accomplishment. M Awards will be disseminated through our counseling office. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends our guest and scheduled speakers for this evening. I just want to make a few announcements if I could. Item 6, the appointment of new student board representatives. That action will take place following public comments and before the board meeting, the approval of board meeting minutes. However, the next item on the agenda, the oath of office, is something that we're going to issue, and our vice president will administer the oath of office to each of our two new junior student board reps. We have Joseph Shaw and Serena Fakori. So first off, Serena, would you please come forward?
Serena, welcome. You ready? Okay. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and I will discharge the duties of the office of student representative to the board with fidelity. Thank you. Joseph, welcome. Are you ready? Okay. I do solemnly swear that I will support, obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of this Commonwealth, and that I will discharge the duties of the office of student representative to the board with fidelity. Thank you. Oops. Okay. Welcome to the new student representatives, and thank you for being here. We're going to move on in the agenda with reports that are attached, but we have a few that we're going to read out loud. The DEI report. Ms. Purdue, do you have that? You don't have that? Okay.
Good evening. This month's DEI report, we have two matters with respect to the DEI, the district's efforts on DEI during the month of September 2021. Dr. Sorgini has led the process for the recruitment of candidates to fill the DEI supervisor position created by the School Board of Directors. Round 2 of the process is scheduled for Friday, with several members of the board and other stakeholders involved. Second, last night, there was a presentation via Zoom by Dr. Gallagher Landis on a summary of the DEI committee recommendations. This presentation is posted to the district DEI section of the website. This information, along with feedback, input, scheduled to begin October 1st via surveys, on October 21st via focus group meetings, and other important district matters will be included in the final strategic plan targeted for February 2021. And that's the report that we have, and we'll bring more information as we progress.
Thank you, Ms. Purdue. And then we have the intermediate unit and North Monco Technical Career Center. I was unable to make the last North Monco Tech meeting, so Ms. Reese, do you have a report?
do.
Thank
So
you.
first with the IU, we met on August 25th and on September 22nd. I was unable to make the 22nd due to my own back to school night as a teacher. But I'm just going to share two big pieces of news for the IU. The first is that they have officially opened as of August 31st a partial hospitalization program centered around mental health for K-6 students. And why that is important to us at Methacton is just the stronger RIU is and the stronger Montgomery County is in helping students with mental health issues is the better for all children. That is housed in the Early Learning Center, which is the old IU on Main Street. So we're very excited about that. And I believe the board received the press release about that. And if you didn't, let me know and I will forward it. The other big piece of IU news is, and I brought it up at the last meeting, because of the success of pre-K counts and Head Start and the fact that buildings don't have as much space, they did officially go into hoping to purchase that building in West Point in order to extend their services. Those are the two biggest pieces for the IU. Bear with me, I'm like new to wearing readers. I'm like trying to read, trying to speak all at the same time. But I think I hit everything for the IU. As far as the tech center, we met on 9/20. And the tech center, just like most schools, did take on just a little bit of water due to Ida, but nothing was too serious, and they were able to handle that internally and rather quickly. They did go over the audit review, as well as discussing a fund balance, which I think a lot of districts have been doing. And what they plan to do, we're still going to probably vote on it next month, but they're looking to add a 1-year only senior program, and nothing is set in stone yet. But one of the current programs we have is a 1-year senior only allied health and biotech, which is very popular. And they're hoping to possibly add a social media and digital marketing class. And I have a lot of details on it, but until it's official, I won't share them. We had tried to expand mechatronics, and due to different, mostly it's very difficult to find a mechatronics professor or teacher. This is the next best thing. What else did I want to quickly share? Oh, the other program that they're probably going to add is sports medicine and rehabilitation. As of now, the Western Center is the only program of its kind in Montgomery County. So if North Monco added one, that would be fantastic. But again, Liz and I will let you know if that occurs after next month's meeting. We are still Zoom, and we at North Monco for our meetings, and looks like we're gonna be Zoom at least one more month. The issue is more spacing. They're using the room we usually use for classrooms, and the JOC of the North Monco is a little bit larger, with 2 reps from each sending district and 3 from North Penn. And I think I covered everything. I think I did. So I'm all finished. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. Next, I have a report from the student board representatives.
Pass that in, or you want to turn it?
Methacton never rests. When one event ends, another begins. The year started off enthusiastically as the school hosted several opportunities for students to socially interact after a long year of online learning. These activities consisted of basketball, dodgeball, painting, movie watching, a chill zone, and so much more. During the last month, Methacton Warriors sports teams have gone head-to-head with 4 different schools with only 1 loss. The girls' varsity tennis team went head-to-head with North Penn High School and won 5-2 on August 26. The boys' varsity soccer team went up against Westchester East High School and lost 1-2 on September 3rd. The boys' varsity team came back when they went up against Owen J. Roberts, winning 3-1. Last but not least, the boys' varsity soccer went up against Upper Marion Area High School on September 10th and won 2-0. On the basis of club gatherings, Save a Life Club, oriented around charity work and helping the community, had its first meeting September 20th after school. On the same note, the STEM-based Aerospace Club's first meeting was held on September 14th until 3 p.m. September 12th was the day that bus routes for student transportation changed, and around the same time, the traffic pattern for drop-off and pickup was adjusted.
All right. On September 13th and 15th, the Ladies Warriors basketball open gym tryouts occurred. Open gyms for basketball are now open every Tuesday and Wednesday from September 9th to November 17th. In addition, September 14th was the 9th and 10th grade back to school night, and it ran from 7 to 9 p.m. Back to school night for juniors and seniors was held on September 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. Additionally, senior pictures happened on September 21st to the 23rd from 4 to 8 p.m. Wednesday, September 22nd was a very special day for the Methacton High School students since the homecoming dance was hosted that day at Elmwood Park Zoo from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Seniors had the ability to go to this event early as a privilege. After a week of spirit wear, the final day of homecoming festivities consisted of a pep rally during 7th period at the high school. Homecoming kings and queens were selected and announced for each class during this event, as well as the fall sports teams. Stephen Kent and Sophia Dortone were selected for the class of 2023 homecoming court, and as for the class of 2022, Troy Klieger and Reese Koch won. To end the Friday, the homecoming varsity football game was hosted at 7 p.m., which the team ended up winning. Regarding future events, SATs are being held on October 2nd at 7 a.m. Picture Day retakes are going to be held on October 13th from 7:30 to 11:30 a.m. Lastly, all Methacton sophomores and juniors will receive the opportunity to take PSATs on October 13th. And that is it.
Thank you very much and welcome to the board. Next, we have the foundation report. Mr. Beam or Ms. Krelovich. Thank you.
Good evening. As you saw, I missed the actual check because I had a dinner meeting over in Fort Washington that I had to rush to, but that's why I came in a little bit late. But you can see what the foundation has been doing. You know from the prior times that I've spoken with you about what we're doing, and we're very blessed. We have a wonderful board. We have a terrific executive director. We have a community which is supporting our school district, and we're doing great things. We've come a long way. We have a wonderful school board member who's been a part of our foundation in Mary, and Mary's going to be leaving the board, and we are going to miss her very much on our foundation. She's been a real benefit and help to us. You know also that Thursday night, we have our Apex Awards evening. It's not a dinner, but it's a cocktail reception at the Bluebell Country Club. And I hope that many, if not all of you, will be there. It's going to be a fantastic evening. And I just want to give you a real sort of, what do they call it? I don't even know the expression, but it's like a sneak preview. I encourage you to bring a few extra tissues with you, okay? And this has nothing to do with your health, but I have previewed the videos which have been done about our honorees. 2 years ago, we had our first event, as you know. Most of you were there then. The honorees this year are incredibly deserving, and the videos which you will see that night are amazing. I'm bringing some extra tissues for myself, okay? And I'm just letting the rest of you know, you here and the rest of you out here, if you're there, it's going to be something very, very special. And you know that we have decided that we're going to be outside in a tent, and then we're going inside with masks. I want you to know that a few people inside the room will not have masks on. And I want you to understand why. Mark Constable, who is our wonderful Mr. Methacton, retired teacher extraordinaire at Methacton, has a son, an adult son, Corey, who is completely deaf. And the only way that he can communicate is if he can read lips. So at their table, at least, I don't think they're going to be wearing masks. And I just want everybody to know that that's the reason for that. There's no other reason, but it's just so he can communicate. And we're giving him a script of the videos so that at least he can follow along. Somebody suggested that we do, subtitles. That's out of our league for something like this. It's that's sort of at a different level. But this event is going to be just a wonderful celebration of everything good about what all of us here together are trying to do for Methacton. I look forward to seeing all of you there, and we're going to celebrate. We're going to have a beautiful evening. Right now, thank goodness it's not last Thursday when we had all that rain. Looks like we're going to have a good weather forecast, and there's so much to celebrate. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Beam, and thank you for your support of the district. Next, we have communications. Ms. Kelly.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Methacton School District is thrilled to support the efforts of the Methacton Education Foundation as it prepares for the Apex Awards on Thursday, as Mr. Beam just mentioned. Just as an overview, the ceremony will recognize those who have achieved distinction, outstanding accomplishment, or made significant contributions within their professions in the greater Methacton community. Also, parents of Methacton High School students are invited to register for our annual financial aid night event, which takes place also on Thursday, September 30th from 7 to 9 p.m. The event is designed to help families learn more about the process of applying for aid through the free application for federal student aid, better known as FAFSA, as well as the CSS profile through the College Board. There is still time to register. Look for the link on the district or high school website under upcoming events. And you all may have been keeping an eye to the sky today because of the weather. Well, there's another good reason to look up. Our planetarium shows are back for a new season. The September shows were a big hit. Next month's shows are set for October 15th and October 29th. Make it a fun night out with your family and your friends. Tickets are available for purchase online at methacton.org/planettix, T-I-X, or at the door on the night of the show on a first-come, first-served basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. And next, we have the superintendent's report, Dr. Zerbe.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. This evening, you see that there's some advisements for the board's information needs, but I also want to bring to your attention one adjustment that needs to be considered on the agenda. So if you would take a notice to 11:05, and that is supplemental contracts. In the attachment for supplemental contracts, on the last page, page 4 of 4, there are 5 individuals, and I'm going to read their names off. Last name is Wright, Thomas, Cherry, Shanneman, and Cherry a second time. That's for Math Club, Student Council half, Computer Club, Intramurals half, and Intramurals half. They are being removed from the list, which will then create an adjustment. So the agenda item would then read, just bear with me, to approve the supplemental contracts, it says approve the supplemental contracts in the amount of, and it will be modified from 248, et cetera, to 243,508.65. So that dollar amount will be adjusted and those 5 names will be removed. And that ends my report for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Zerbe. Now it's time for public comment on board action items. This is an opportunity for residents to comment on matters that are to be decided upon as outlined on the agenda. The board asks that you keep your comments to 4 minutes or less.
Jim Mollick, Worcester. Payment of the bills. Do you guys review the bills and the payment of the bills? Because I don't think you do. I'm particularly interested in the legal bills and the payment of the legal bills. Does anybody up there review your legal bills and the payment of those bills? If you do, raise your hand. 'Cause that's what I thought. You guys don't review the bills. I can't find any bills from Sweet Stevens. Am I wrong? Are they in there and I can't see them? How does a law firm that's billing 900 grand for right to know have no bills for this month? How's that work? You guys question that at all? Does that bother you? Because I've been provided some information that shows that we're double paying for legal services. Guys aware of that? That means we're paying the same invoice twice. Maybe you could investigate that and get back to me, because I'd like to know why we're doing that. Maybe that's why we got 900 grand worth of right to know bills. The audit findings, and this is right out of the summary, inadequate documentation and a failure to implement internal controls resulted in an inability to audit more than $8.2 million in transportation reimbursement. You know, what's that about? The district failed to maintain complete records and properly monitor its contracted bus drivers as required by law. Now, this is an independent auditor who's making these findings. So can somebody explain how we get to that point? See, I look towards Mr. Navarrete. He's the property committee chair. And every property meeting, we talk about transportation. So maybe Mr. Navarrete can tell us how we get to this point. Yeah, my question would be, did Mr. Navarrete, was he aware we were going to get audited? And if he was, what did he do in preparation for the audit? And further, what did the board do to make sure Mr. Navarrete was prepared for the audit? Because obviously you weren't prepared for the audit. And blaming Dr. Zerbe and blaming Mr. Bricker is not going to cut it, because they don't run the school district. You guys do. I mean, you may think, I go home at 5 o'clock and I'm no longer a school board member. That's not how the whole thing works. You're a school board member 24/7. And you're responsible for everything that happens in this school district. Not Dr. Zerbe. Read his contract. He can't do anything without your direction. Mr. Bricker can't do anything without Dr. Zerbe's direction. So I think you need to prioritize, where your position is overall in this whole scheme. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sandy Hamilton. I'm a resident of Lower Providence, and I had a few kids who came to the district, and I have another child in the district. I believe you are here to help the children. I just have different views about the diversity, equity, and inclusion. To me, it's under the umbrella of the critical race theory, from what I understand. So I don't know how deep into this the school is interested in going, but I believe that the critical race theory has been renamed and repackaged as diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Excuse me, Ms. Hamilton, is there
Yeah.
a specific agenda item that you're referring to when you're speaking of this?
Yeah, the diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, I just don't know. It seems so vague, and I just wanted to tell you how I thought of it.
Okay, this is a time to speak about specific agenda items, so
I thought this was. I mean, I can talk another time. That's fine, but I just thought that this was appropriate. I can come out of time or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay, I mean, you can continue, that's fine.
Yeah, I just wanted to know a little bit more about it, or tell you how, as a parent, how I feel about it. I'm not sure the direction Methacton's going to as far as education, or turning into what some professors call their schools as social justice factories. I just don't want Methacton to get deep into a direction where I don't know who has a say or what parents have a say. So that pretty much was what I wanted to talk about tonight. And some of the books on the parent resources about whiteness and about how police are shooting certain people, and to hate the police. I don't understand that. I was a little confused about that, about those books. So those are the two agendas I wanted to I have questions about them, and I just wanted to make you aware of how I felt about it, about the anti-police and about the DE&I, how deep into it you were going to go.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Seeing no other comments on courtesy of the floor, we'll move on with the agenda. And, oh, I'm sorry, pardon me.
Good evening. Jessica Bradbury, Lower Providence Township. Item 10E, state audit. As someone that has worked in audit and compliance, I'm concerned about the language that states that these are significant deficiencies. I'm also disappointed in our response, saying that you disagree with one of the findings. You should take accountability for your failures and learn from them. You failed to meet Pennsylvania statutory obligations as well as district policy. However, during the property committee meeting, Ms. Reese laughed at the findings, saying that it's just paperwork. It's a waste of time. Frankly, we're lucky that the paperwork was on file at our third-party bus contracting agencies. However, undue reliance on a third-party contractor creates risk for our district. And more importantly, it creates risk for our children. What if there had been drivers without the proper clearances? What if we use a third party to collect survey information from our children and there's a data privacy breach? Another concern of mine is during the property committee, property chair Mr. Navarrete was unaware of how often the audit is even performed. This report is published on paauditor.gov on the website, and you can find all of the recent audit reports. There's 4 in total. And these are the first findings since 2004, almost 20 years. For item 10G, Arrowhead construction change order in the amount of $30,574.28 to relocate electrical poles. If approved tonight, that brings our total unplanned construction costs up to $379,305 since March. Why is this a change order and not something that was factored into the original plans and budget? Surely we would have known the pole needed to be moved. Item 13B, policy, second read. Last week, Ms. Aubrey Larsenace did not answer my questions regarding the community submitted policy and how we would incorporate some of that into our existing policies, especially around discrimination and non-discrimination, up for vote this evening. Perhaps you can provide some answers, Ms. Drummond. Why wasn't a legal review performed during July and August? Why did Policy Board Chair Ms. Hull say that this verbiage is already in our existing policies? What are the policy numbers where we can find things like our district will not say that any identity group is inferior or superior, that our district will not force anyone to say that by nature of their identity group, they're responsible for the historical actions of those in the same group, that an individual by nature of their identity group will not be considered inherently racist, sexist, or oppressive. Policy 321 does not include verbiage that would prohibit a teacher from making part of coursework or awarding course credit or extra credit, student political activism, or political lobbying. We must establish an environment based on dignity, defend intellectual honesty, and return our focus to academics, athletics, and the arts. If you approve revisions to policy 103.1 and 104 this evening, will it be possible to make further revisions this year? Please provide us with the next steps and your timeline for the community policy on dignity and non-discrimination that was submitted in June by parents and concerned taxpayers. Thank you.
Okay, moving on with the agenda. It's now
The next will be
the next one is
approve
the
board,
appoint. Okay, so
student board reps.
we are at 6A, the appointment of the student board representatives. So can I have a motion to approve the appointment of Methacton High School juniors Joseph Shaw and Serena Fakori as student board representatives to the Board of School Directors for a term of 2 years, effective the 2021-2022 school year? Mr. Navarrete, can I get a second? Ms. Purdue, any comments? Seeing none. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, 8-0. Thank you. Now we are at board meeting minutes. Okay. We're at number 9, board meeting minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the board meeting minutes dated special meeting July 12th, 2021, work session July 20th, 2021, regular meeting July 27th, 2021, special meeting August 10th, 2021, work session August 17th, 2021, regular meeting August 24th, 2021 as attached? Mr. McGinnis, a second? Mr. Navarrete? Any comments? Okay, all in favor? Okay, thank you. Any opposed? All right, 8-0, thank you. And next we have fiscal items. Mr. Bricker.
Thank you. Tonight for your approval, we have the list of bills, treasurer's report. There are no budgetary transfers. The closure of 2 student activity accounts, the approval of the response to the state audit, bond financing resolution 21-04, and the Arrowhead Construction to approve the customer agreement with PICO.
Thank you. Does anyone want to take any separately in fiscal items? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve fiscal items 10A through 10G? Mr. Winters, second. Ms. Purdue, and comments from the board? I have actually a couple questions. I just wanted to see if you had any comments about any points raised by the public on any special handling of the legal bills, audit findings, or the change order.
The legal bills were not received. Once they're received, reviewed, and processed, they'll show up on the list of bills. Not to saying they didn't have any, we just didn't get the invoices. With audit, the paperwork that was missing was in the files, and we just did not have a current copy of 3 pieces of paper, if I think correctly. No excuse, they should have been in our files. The reason we disagree is the fact that the clearances were reviewed previously. They're reviewed by the transportation coordinator. With regard to Arrowhead, the reason that we need the poles to be moved and repositioned is because we're changing the entrance. They have to have a clearance of, I forget what the height is, but there's a clearance height that they have to reach, and that's why they're having to do that. Initially, it was 3 poles, and we worked with them, and we are only moving 2 poles associated with that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
My only comment was we discussed at length the audit at property, and we discussed the polls last week at the work session. So that's why some of us are quiet, because we have already discussed it at length. But thank you for the public bringing up their concerns.
Thank you. Okay. We have the motion on the table. All in favor of the fiscal bills? Fiscal items? Any opposed? 8-0. Thank you. Next, we have personnel items. Dr. Sorgini.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. For your consideration this month, we have the following personnel items. 1 resignation administrator. This is an addition from last week. 4 resignations classified. 3 resignations professional, including the addition of Curtis Brown, technology education teacher at Methacton High School. We thank Curtis for his service to the students of Methacton and wish him well. The elimination of 3 positions professional, 2 employments professional, 8 employments classified, 1 change of status classified, 3 uncompensated leaves professional, 1 uncompensated leave classified, a series of supplemental contracts, including, as Dr. Zerbe said, an update to the list of sponsors, as well as the addition of an IEP meeting attendance contract, instructional software support specialists, and gifted GIEP writing contracts. 1 addition to the classified substitute list, the addition of multiple individuals to the list of approved volunteers in the district, and 1 community education swim instructor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sorgini. Does anyone want to take any personnel items separately?
I just would like to take 11D separately, please.
D separately. Okay, thank you. Can I get a motion to approve 11 A, B, C, and E through R? Ms. Cancro? And a second? Ms. Reese?
And just to be clear, Madam Vice President,
Yes.
the motion that was just made was to have item 11O as referenced by Dr. Zerbe, so that 1105 now reads $243,508.65.
Thank you. I was going to say that. But thank you. All right. Could we have a motion, and do we have any comments about these items and noting the new cost for item 1105? Any comments about these?
Just want to thank Dr. Sorgini, as always, and I hope you're a little less busy in the coming months. Your agenda's a little shorter.
Thank
But
you.
I do appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Winters?
Yeah, I just have sort of 2 comments. One, it doesn't necessarily fit here, but I think the Methacton Education Foundation and the support that we've gotten from the science teachers to initiate these programs above and beyond their roles as teachers is admirable and fantastic. And I would hope at some point we can actually recognize those individuals directly, Dr. Zerbe. At the same time, the flip side, the item number 5 is again disappointing to me to hear we need to take $5,000 that we have budgeted for the most important time of getting back to school with programs and after school activities. And I hope that we find solutions to those, and hopefully some of the staff reconsiders the choices that they made. The most important aspect for these students at this time is normalcy. And I believe these activities, hopefully none of them go by the wayside, but as you mentioned before at a couple of meetings, this is the most difficult time for us in recent years to fill the sponsorships. And there's clearly sponsor money that was put in the MEA contract this year to support these activities.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Okay, all in favor of those items? Any opposed? Okay, that's 8-0. Thank you. And now we have item 11D, eliminations of positions. Can I get a motion for that, please? Ms. Cancro, second. Ms. Hull? And comments on that? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Thank you. Next, we have curriculum and programs. Dr. Walsh, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. For your consideration and approval, revisions to the grades 7 and 8 Social Studies Plan course documents to reflect the modifications to the pacing guides, assessments, and learning activities. Also approve the Boost program for the 21-22 school year as presented with a cost not to exceed $131,713, where such costs will be covered under the ESSERS grant. And also approve the 21-22 revised instructional calendar as attached. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone want to separate these? We're good? Okay. Can I get a motion for 12A and 12B in curriculum? Drew McGinnis, and a second. Mr. Winters, any comments?
No, I just want to reiterate from the work session that I look forward to the opportunity of the Boost program, and I thank all those involved in advance.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have policy. Mr. Regina?
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Number of items for first read and second read under policy. As you may recall, 006.1 and 006.2 is a change of policy classification to represent the PSBA numbering. We also have a 313 evaluation of employees that's also an addition, and a change based on the new Act 13 requirements issued by PDE. And for our second read, we have a number of PSBA recommendations as it relates to the Title IX policy, which is why you see 103.1 and 104 back on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone want to separate any? All right. Can I get a motion to approve all the policies on second read, 6 policies on second read? Ms. Hall, and a second. Mr. Navarette, any comments on these? Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. So, Ms. Hall, can you just talk about the normal process around policies and how they come up for cycle and when they can come up additionally?
Sure. We do have a review cycle that we have mapped out the entire policy database, and the admin actually tracks the review cycle. We try to have a review of just to break through the entire grouping, and we separate it by department sometimes so that we're not always putting all the burden on one department for the coverage. There's also PSBA updates that come up quarterly. If there are revisions, then we would take that into consideration to review the policies also. So then they're brought to committee, we review them, recommend them for first read, and then they move on to second read.
Thank you.
How'd I do, Jay?
Very well done. I couldn't have done it better.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
Just with that, I mean, as we have the public comment come in, when we have suggestions from from people from the public, how was that analyzed, reviewed, and brought into with this policies?
It was disseminated through the committee, and I requested at the last meeting that we have legal counsel review any overlaps that we have from our Title IX coverage of non-discrimination to what was proposed by the public. So that should be covered in the next policy meeting.
Thank you.
And the changes, I just want to point out, as you already noted, that there are Title IX recommendations that propose some of the 103 and 104 changes.
That is correct. As you well said, there were PSBA recommendations that came in our new volume, so that's correct.
All right, all in favor of these policies? Any opposed? All right, thank you. And next we have under gifts and donations, we have a backpack donation from generous individuals in the amount of $1,870.11, for which the backpack program that I help out with is very grateful to receive those funds. And we are voting on accepting that. Okay, thank you. So can I get a motion to accept those funds? Mr. Navarette, a second. Ms. Reese, any comments? Just a thank you again. And all in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Liz, I wanted to ask you a question. I know we're still accepting other donations, not it doesn't have to be monetary, outside of our COLA and outside of the high school. Is that correct?
That is correct. The backpack program has been right outside the Arcola doors, as well as outside the East Wing at the high school. And we also have a Facebook page you can follow that's at Methacton Backpack. We have an Amazon list there, and you can have items shipped directly to the high school, and they'll be distributed to the schools.
You just answered my next question. So the Amazon wish list is on the Facebook at Methacton Backpack?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, trips. Okay, now we have additional transportation employees for the 2021-2022 school year as attached. Can I get a motion to accept that? Mr. McGinnis and Ms. Reese, any comments on those? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you, 8-0. Then we have dates for board members' calendars. Do we have anyone for old business? Any comments for old business from the board?
I don't
Anything
think
for new?
it's necessarily old business, but I just wanted to address Ms. Hamilton. I know it was probably confusing when you came up. Nobody was ignoring your questions. It's just typically DEI was not an agenda item, so it's fine that you spoke. We didn't mind. Typically, that would be at courtesy of the floor. Your concern, not your concerns would be difficult to address in a few minutes because DEI is a huge topic. But I did want to let you know that we did receive your email. It didn't have a question, so I apologize if you were expecting a response. I didn't respond. I don't know if anyone else did. And in short, the district is trying its best to share with everyone what DEI consists of. There was a presentation on Monday evening, which Ms. Perdue spoke about, and we are in the process of hiring somebody, and that person would be available to discuss and work with some of the issues that the community has, positively and negatively, including some of the resources that people are concerned with. DEI is such a large, encompassing arena that I can't do it justice in a few minutes, but we do hear your concerns, and many districts in Montgomery County do have a DEI initiative, and we're just trying to kind of get to where many are, and feel free to share those concerns and know that we will be sharing with you any initiatives that are going forward. And in short.
Thank you. And, oh, sorry.
Just wanted to add, so I don't know if you were able to get on the Zoom call yesterday, but what that Zoom call really defined some of the work that was ongoing from when we decided to establish the DEI office. With that, we had what you can call equity or climate survey done just to get a baseline for where we are as a district, and that composed of people within the community, students, teachers, everybody, and parents also had a chance to provide input into that. What was talked about yesterday at the DEI meeting, they went over some of the guiding statements. They defined some of the terms of DEI just because, like we said, it's a big topic, right? So they defined diversity, equity, and inclusion also. And they provide a summary from each of the DEI subcommittee as far as their recommendations from the survey and general recommendations from the district also. And all that, as I said, is on the district's DEI page. It will provide you with the information. But I think what we know that within the administration, we also don't have someone that's specifically trained to handle issues or bring recommendations or handle any recommendations that come from the the subcommittees when we talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so this is where the next step I mentioned is we do have interviews started, where we're looking to bring someone that's professionally trained to handle this. And what they will do is really tackle those issues as they come up. So we're not, I think you asked the question about how deep the district is going into DEI. I don't have visibility into that, but hopefully once we get all that happen, we say it's not going to be done in an isolated situation, but it will be made visible so everyone will have input as far as what we plan to implement, everything else. So hopefully you'll stay tuned to get more information as everything comes out. And if you're a parent in a district, you get the emails about it and you'll be involved.
Thank you. If I could just add the information that regarding the DEI process, so all that information is going to be taken in as part of the strategic planning process and implemented as part of that full review into recommendations. Are there any other comments from the board? Old or new business? Okay, now it's time for courtesy of the floor. The board will now provide an opportunity for residents to make comment on matters that are or may be before the board. The board asks that you keep your comments to 4 minutes or less. The Board of School Directors may choose to respond to matters following the conclusion of the comments, or you can submit questions via email to information@methacton.org.
Hello, my name is Julia Nuckley. I live in Lower Providence. I urge the school board and the school district to look into later high school start times. Later start times have been shown to improve academics, improve behavior, and most importantly, reduce teen car crashes and reduce high-risk behaviors such as drug and alcohol use. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the CDC, and the American Medical Association all advocate for high school start times of 8:30 a.m. or later. When puberty hits, the melatonin hormone, which is also known as the sleep hormone, shifts later in our teenagers, making around 11 p.m. a more natural sleep time for them. Teenagers need around 9 hours of sleep. Our high school start time of 7:30 a.m. means that most of our high schools need to get up around 6 a.m. in order to get to school on time. This means they are getting around 7 hours of sleep when they need 9. You may ask, why don't they just go to bed earlier? But this can be very difficult. As I mentioned before, their melatonin doesn't kick in until closer to 11, making it harder to fall asleep earlier. I remember as a teen, long before cell phones and other distractions, just laying in bed with my mind racing, unable to fall asleep. In order to get all the sleep they need, they would need to go to bed at 9 p.m., which would be very hard for most teens. I understand that nowadays cell phones and other devices can also affect sleep times, so we need to make sure that we're teaching kids healthy sleep habits. But it is not enough because the school start times are fighting against nature. Studies were done that showed that one benefit of virtual learning is that it allowed kids to get more sleep in the morning, which helped them academically. The most productive part of sleep happens in the last couple of hours when most of our memory storage and mood regulation happens. This is the part of sleep that we are depriving from our teenagers, and the part that helps them academically and behaviorally. My own daughter gets up at 6:15 a.m. to catch the bus at 6:51. She usually doesn't have time to eat breakfast, and she says she doesn't feel like eating that early anyway. Yet she doesn't have lunch until 1 p.m. She is distracted during school because she is so hungry and tired during the school day. I know it will be a logistical challenge to change the start time. Everything depends on it, from busing to after-school activities. However, other school districts in our area, such as Radnor, Unionville, Chadsford, and Phoenixville, have changed their start times and have seen positive results. I encourage our school district to do the same. It will benefit our teenagers, our families, and our community overall. Thank you.
Anybody else for courtesy of the floor?
Good evening. John Andrews, Lower Providence. The last speaker spoke excellently about high school start times. Maybe she's a professor somewhere, and she should be heeded for making a convincing story. At your last vote meeting in August 24th, I spoke to the issue of a bill for $34,000 for abandoning 2 wells at the at the Arrowhead school construction. In the minutes of that meeting, I was mentioned as speaking to the action item, but the minutes failed to reflect my comments. Basically, you committed $34,000 when I was arguing for $3,000 to do the job. And at that time, the property committee chair, Mr. Navarrete, had not issued the meeting minutes for that property committee meeting where this issue was discussed for 40 minutes. 40 minutes. So I'm not sure how many people were at the committee meeting, how many of the 4, but in response to my comments on that action item, Ms. Reese indicated that the item was discussed. She got into no particulars. Ms. Larson-East, the board president, apparently allowed for no meeting minutes. They have yet to be prepared. And the board voted along the lines of the committee with no facts, no meeting minutes. There's something rather wrong about how the school board administers its voting to allow for uninformed votes by at least 5 directors. Also, with regard to that well abandonment item, there was no indication of multiple bids. My understanding is any school-funded project for over $20,000 requires multiple bids. Also, there's a recent vote on the start time at Skyview Arcola. Recent, by recent, I mean back in the spring. Previous to this school year, there were separate start times for both Skyview and Arcola. This year, there's one start time, and the Property Transportation Committee meeting minutes indicate big problems, much more traffic, difficulty in buses getting in and out. And I think that the change to save a couple $100,000 was not worth it. And you should reconsider. Someone may have egg on their
I'm going to have
face.
to ask you to wrap up, Mr. Andrews.
Yes, someone may have egg on their faces, but the considerations of the entire Skyview Arcola community are a lot bigger than some egg on the face.
Thank you.
Jim Malik, Worcester. I love it. 1 month before the election, and we get the kinder, gentler board. Extended time, allowing people to talk about anything they want during voter section. Not that I disagree. I just love how it comes always like the month before the election. And then after the election, it goes back to the way it used to be. But I am glad you're sitting up there as the chair, Ms. Drummond. I need to ask you why you are having private conversations about the Arrowhead project on your personal computer. Because I requested those conversations. And you apparently said you didn't have them, but I have them. So maybe you can tell everybody why you use your personal computer to do school business rather than your regular school account. You know, well, I can get to address you, which is nice. In August, this board approved a code of conduct policy. This code of conduct applies to students, building administrators, staff, and believe it or not, it even applies to parents. Parents have their own code of conduct when they're at home, according to your policy, right? The rules for parents are simply insulting. I read them, I couldn't believe it. But guess whose conduct is not mentioned in your code of conduct? All you guys. Nothing about the board's conduct, right? It's okay for Mr. McGinnis to, use profanity. It's okay for people to tell people that they got to take their tinfoil hats off. You guys have nothing. So my recommendation is you come up with a policy to regulate your behavior. You're good at regulating everybody else's, but your own, I just don't see it. You guys spent $5,000 on a enrollment study by Milo and McBroom. That was a total waste of money. They predicted 1,736 students K-4 this year. Paid $5,000 for it, and you got your $5,000 because the actual enrollment's 1,592. They're off by 144 students. You do the math, that's 7 classrooms. So somebody's got to answer for that one. I mean, what a waste of money. DEI, I heard DEI mentioned. You guys don't call the shots for DEI. It's the private nonprofit group that's calling all the shots, right? Mr. Navarrete, Ms. Larceny's, they go to the private meetings, and they're the ones I heard that came up with the code of conduct. So they're the ones calling the shots. Now, I do know because I got some of the emails that I needed, but I filed a right to know request for everything DEI, including communications with Dr. Campbell, Zerby, everybody else. That was in November. You guys never answered my request. And then you said you needed 150 days to produce it. Well, as of today, it's 10 months, and I still don't have any information. So my question is, what are you guys hiding? What are you hiding? Thanks.
Anybody else for courtesy of the floor?
Joe Rittenhouse, Lower Providence. So I wanted to speak tonight about a few concerns I had during last night's DEI presentation. I understand that no questions could be asked at the time, and I wanted to see if I could pose some of those here tonight. I'd also like to provide some insight that I've found what I see as some major problems and some glaring hypocrisies that really undermine the legitimacy of the DEI committee and the work that it's going to do. First and foremost, no data was given in regards to the survey. I'm more than willing to be corrected on this. I didn't see any. I would love to see what the results of the surveys were, what information were we drawing from to get this presentation. Within the presentation itself, certain things stuck out to me. One being the definition of equity. We underlined removing personal and system barriers in the limit of full participation of all individuals and groups. This is vague enough to basically cover anything, and so I think that it should be narrowed down. Application and screening of the selection of the committee. Dr. Zerbe provided me with the rubric that was used, and I can tell you that the rubric was set up to basically filter out anyone of differing opinion. That's just how the rubric was set up. It's available online for people to look at. Looking at it, it seems to have netted a committee where 80% of those serving on the committee are registered Democrats. There is very little to only 20% of Republicans. In our district, we're very 50-50. So clearly this intellectual diversity wasn't taken into consideration. Again, the analyzed survey results. And then when it came to the inclusion and balanced curriculum, I wanted to make sure that we're really pushing balance, because if we're going to have a committee that is 80% one ideological bent, I would love to see some diversity or balance of that curriculum. Also, one of the things that I was deeply upset about is on the personal growth about the anti-bias and anti-discrimination training. So I actually have a lot of experience with this. I've audited for two different companies I've worked for. And to say it's inherently flawed would be an understatement. Anti-bias, anti-discrimination studies, for everything that says it works, there are 2 studies minimum, 1 to 2, that say it is counterproductive at best, or counterproductive at worst, and just doesn't work at best. There are thousands upon thousands of studies, including one with 17,000 participants that completed anti-bias training and discrimination that found after 24 hours, anything that they had learned in these meetings was gone. They could not retain anything. It didn't balance onto coming years. So I have so much more, but I wanted to get to this. So one of the other issues I have with the way the DEI committee was set up is I don't think it was properly vetted. I don't think that there are people on that committee who are committed to diversity, equity, inclusion. And to prove that, I just want to bring up some comments from members of the board and members of the committee that I think are antithetical to diversity, equity, inclusion. A member of the DEI committee said, "Get AIDS and die, gay boy. I'm really going to quit my job because there's just too many white people here." Could Methacton make a public service and leave janitor closet doors open so us students can fuck inside of them instead of staircases? It goes on. Religion has rotted the brains of white people, and there's not a single effing thing you could say that would change my mind. Director Mary Hull has a comment here that from January that says Secret Service protection ends.
Thank you for your comments.
Oh, thank you. Can I finish my comment? I'm going to finish it. Mary Hull says, Secret Service protection ends for the children of Donald Trump after today. Good luck. That's stochastic terrorism. So I would love to hear how that's going to be diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Please be seated. Any further comments from the board to wrap up? Oh, sorry.
Hello, my name is Erin Ranieri from Lower Providence. I stood up here in July and said a lot. I'm sorry. There's a little bit more now that we have started school that I feel like I need to say. I've never felt the way that I feel this year. I'm scared for where our district is heading and how much our ranking has dropped. Normally, I would take that with a grain of salt, because normally I think some of the things that they use to rank, isn't correct. Our ranking has dropped a lot since I have been here, since I started 20 years ago. But it's different when you can feel that drop. It's different to me now. I do trust that our ranking has dropped that much. People aren't happy. As I said before in the July meeting, parents are pulling their kids out, and it's a lot of people that I know in the community that are involved with us at different things like MARA and the Methacton Warriors Youth Association. They're pulling their kids out because they're not happy with things that we're doing and things that they're hearing. There's also a lot of teachers leaving. We have two, I think I'm correct on this, duly certified science teachers leaving right now. They are both getting all their years of service, I believe, at different school districts and getting paid a lot more. We just cut a math position tonight. I apologize, I couldn't get here in time to speak before that position was cut, but I was coaching. We talk about STEM all the time, but I wonder if it's just a buzzword or if we really mean it. After a year and a half as challenging as this has been, I don't think having that extra math teacher would have been a bad thing. I think smaller class sizes are really important. I was doing a project the other day in Algebra 2, and I couldn't get around the room fast enough. I didn't predict that the kids would have as big of an issue related to past things that they have not learned and not caught up with. And I wonder if that STEM word really, holds weight around here. These science teachers aren't leaving for nothing. I think they feel the same way that I do. I think our best investment isn't stuff. I don't think it's new textbooks. I don't think it's whatever got delivered to the high school today. I forget what it's called. I apologize. It's been a long day. It's teachers. There's a lot out there right now that is free for us to use. If you have really good people in front of these students, they can find materials to use. We find free stuff every day. Some of it's important, but our major investment, we need to get good people and hold on to them. There are way too many teachers leaving. I believe, we have a couple different positions open at the high school right now. I'm afraid this engineering course that we have is going to get cut because of the man that's leaving the high school. I had to step down from 2 clubs this year, and I want to apologize to my students for that. They know that I enjoy doing that so much. I think it's important that we all see kids outside of the classroom. It's awesome to chaperone things. It's awesome to be at games and see the tribe and to be at dances and proms and everything. I like to see the kids out there. I did run a class congress. I was supposed to plan the prom this year. I had to step down though because now I'm teaching 3 courses, one of which I've never taught before. And that's the job I get paid for, and I take pride in my work. And I need to focus all day, every day on planning 3 different courses now every day.
I'm going to have to ask
Thank
you to
you.
wrap up. Oh, thank you. Anybody else for courtesy of the floor?
Kelly Mann, Lower Providence. I watched the DEI meeting last night, and I just wanted to know, where's the data? It went from being called an audit to a survey to a pulse check, as it was referred to last night, and I heard survey again tonight. During the July board meeting, it was suggested that the September DEI meeting would be informative. The slideshow was very basic. It did not allow for questions or answers. What services did the district pay Dr. Bruce Campbell $30,000 to perform? I think this has been asked before, but if there's a breakdown anywhere where you could guide us to look that up, that would be great. Will there be public district DEI committee meetings that will allow for questions and answers? As I understand from the social media comments by the secretary of the Community DEI Task Force, there is an ad hoc school board committee comprised of 3 of you that sit here tonight. And I quote her, "The 3 of them are active members of this group and participate in every scheduled meeting with the membership to keep us updated on their progress and to make the task force position," and we're talking about the community task force, "input known to the administration." Who are you working for? That's my question. Hers stopped, I'm sorry. But who are you working for? There's 3 of you sitting up here, and you're bringing in input from a community activist task force. Parents were repeatedly told in previous meetings that these two groups were separate. These comments suggest otherwise. And also, is there a way for the public to view the breakdown of the ESSR funding? Thank you.
Anybody else?
If I may, I wasn't going to say anything, but I just
Hi,
can't.
could you please
I'm
state
sorry.
your name and
Shelley Acres, Lower Providence. But I have to say something. I've been following critical race theory since this whole thing blew up about a year ago. The DEI part of it is really the implementation of this whole critical race theory. And I hope the board is very aware of the fact that it is a purely political thing. It's purely political. And why do you even need a DEI person? I don't know this school district too well, other than the fact that it's had tremendous ratings. I come from Lower Merion. But your school district was pulling in front of us. We were very jealous. Why is your school district in such a state that you have to bring in a DEI person? You mean your kids don't get along? Your teachers don't work it out? They don't do these things? I don't understand. It isn't a must. You're just copying off of everybody else that's around. But the important thing, it's political. And they're trying to indoctrinate our kids, and you have to be careful. And that scares the hell out of me.
Anybody else?
Hello again, Jessica Bradbury, Lower Providence Township. Yes, Ms. Reese, I know there was a discussion during property committee. I was there with the 4 other people. However, if you look at the meeting minutes, there's all of 4 lines that are captured. Doesn't explain anything that was discussed. I would like the board to consider making more transparency into these meetings by beginning to stream and record them so that we can go back and see what was discussed. Last night, we received an update on the equity audit. However, we've seen the name change. Dr. Gallagher Landis said it's not an audit, it's a pulse check. Not one single piece of data was provided last night. So essentially, we saw recommendations being made by a committee, mostly comprised of the same political activists that were behind the creation of the DEI program in the first place. Why wasn't there any data presented? Is it because there was a shockingly low participation rate for the survey? Is it because the questions you asked our 11 and 12-year-olds about their gender and sexual identity were extremely inappropriate? Is it because you had no technical controls to ensure that one respondent couldn't take the survey multiple times and that we had no way to protect their identity and keep it anonymous? I asked about a statement of work with Dr. Campbell in November before you signed it. I asked, and I'll ask again tonight, what did we engage with him to deliver? We received nothing. What did we get for the $30,000 we paid? And why did we pay more than Colonial School District? They paid $17,000 for the exact same person, for the exact same services. We saw Student Life Draft Goal 2 involving the removal of Warrior and Apache logo and mascot. Will the strategic planning process allow us to refine that goal? A decision as significant as changing the history of our school's mascot and logo should be made by seeking input from alumni, current students, staff, community members, taxpayers. I had a wonderful conversation with a family relatively new to district who explained that in their home state, decisions that would impact the community like this, or like building an entirely new elementary school, are made by a referendum vote. I'd like to ask in advance of the February meeting if we can consider adopting a policy so that when it comes time to decide these new DEI recommendations, can they be made by a referendum vote? Let's let the public decide. We also heard The Personal Development Committee recommended that our teachers receive training on microaggressions and that they go through an implicit bias training. Where is the data that shows that that's actually beneficial? That won't already take our already taxed teachers and make them do even more. It'll make them more unhappy with the environment. We need to have more transparency, not less, for our teachers, for our parents, for our community members, if we're going to trust the motivations of the board and the district to provide for the education and future of our children. Please release the data that you collected by this equity survey. I'm looking forward to next month working with the policy committee to further our discussions around the community-submitted policy on dignity. We must work together and create an inclusive environment for all people in the Methacton family. Thank you.
Brian Leggett, Lower Providence Township. I'm the parent of 2018 and 2021 graduates of the high school, so I shouldn't care anymore, but I do, because I am concerned about some of the transparency of what's going on here with the board and how things are being kind of turned around and the direction and some secrecy. Also, I'm concerned that we should be educating our children and not indoctrinating our kids. If you ask any child, especially in the high school, who has Republican or conservative viewpoints, you will be told that their viewpoints cannot really be shared in class because they will be looked at and they fear grade retribution from their teachers. My younger son last year at the beginning of the year told me, he said, "Dad, I can't tell what political party my social studies teacher is." I said, "That is great. That's awesome. You should not know. He or she should promote both sides." About a week later, he said, "Well, Dad, I know what political party he is." And through the wonders of Zoom, I was able to see that he was not teaching thought. He was teaching his opinion, and there was no room for thought. So that's where I have a problem with what's going on here. Now, my other son in 2016 wore a Trump shirt to school. He got dirty looks from his teachers. He had some things said to him that he put a sweatshirt on so that he couldn't express his political view in class. The voter registration in this district is 43% Republican and 41% Democrat. I also am a member of the Community DEI Task Force. Janine Darby is my neighbor. She invited me to be part of the task force, and I participated in the meetings. One of the things that disgruntled me about these meetings is the political bent that was taken. I heard things like disparaging remarks said about the high school principal for having a Trump flag in his yard. I heard a Board of Supervisors member discuss the need to flip the Board of Supervisors so that they can enact their agenda. I heard a political activist from a different school district talk about the need to recruit progressive candidates to get their agenda forward. These were things in the DEI task force. So I'm just telling this because it's not about DEI. And you would think that we had a Black female veteran, military veteran, as a candidate for Congress in our voting district. You would think that that would be somebody that the DEI group would want to promote. During a community conversation on anti-Asian bias, a speaker referred to this member or this person as crazy and nuts. Meanwhile, the moderator of that session, who was on DEI committee, your DEI committee, nodded in approval. Your DI committee has 75% Democrats. So there's no diversity of thought on the DEI committee. Speaking of anti-Asian bias, on the website, I looked at the link for addressing anti-Asian bias. It takes you to a website called Learning for Justice. You know what the lessons are on Learning for Justice? The truth about voting rights, intersectionality, privilege, oppression. Those are the words of critical race theory. And I heard Miss Aubrey Lysonase talk about that we are not going to promote critical race theory. Well, it's right there on your website. And the last thing about the mascot, there are no Native Americans on the DEI task force. I think if you're going to make
Could I ask you
decisions,
to wrap
you should
up?
include people who are members of the Native American community. Thank you.
Anybody else for courtesy of the floor? Seeing none. Any other thoughts from the board to wrap up? Seeing none. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.